Hello, Narnach here. Welcome back to Path of Exile. In between episodes I did a pretty big upgrade in terms of gear and I flipped some skills around. So, short summary is I'm focusing heavily on crits now. So let's have a look at the skill tree. So I decided to drop the 3 life regeneration and damage over time nodes over here. Figuring that I don't really care that much about damage over time, and life regen is not overly important when I have my energy shield. Energy shield recharges pretty quickly and I have flasks to deal with life. So, and even if I'm now flipping to Sorrow of the Divine, the consecrated ground will give me some life regen anyway, so these 3 skill points are pretty precious. So I took those out and put them towards Doomcast. So suddenly we get 60% increased critical strike chance with spells, and we get another 15% increased crit multiplier. I did consider refunding the Fingers of Frost. Actually I did, and then I realized let's do Growth and Decay instead, and I reassigned them. So now we get the best of both worlds. We have an increased chance to freeze things, and we have an increased crit chance, and crits also freeze things because it's a cold damage. So it's a win-win situation. On top of that, I flipped my gear upside down. I threw out all the uniques that we were wearing actually. So we're now using a wand, built-in increased spell damage, with increased spell damage mod, some extra cold damage to spells, 85% increased critical strike chance for spells. This is huge. And on top of that I enchanted another increased spell damage. So this wand by itself massively boosts our damage globally, not just for the gems that are inside of it. The shield, it's a spirit shield with a pretty badge of skulls icon, thingamajig. There's a lot of increased spell damage on here. Again, more increased spell crit chance for spells. And there is 16 to all elemental resistances with some extra lightning resist. So this helps us with our resistances, where the previous one only boosted our cold. We do lose the +5 to maximum cold resist and the diversion of the fire damage to cold, but this does massively boost our damage and it gives us more crits. Amulet. We're only using the Atsiris Foible because it massively boosts our mana regen. With the changes to this setup and also to our rings, we no longer needed that. So I could put in something else. I still picked a power amulet with the mana regen because it's useful. It's the most useful of all the amulet types for this build. And this I had lying about. It increased our crit multiplier, so there's a bit more damage. There's a bit more energy shield on here, plus some to all attributes, and I enchanted 7% to all elemental resistances on it to round out all the resists. For rings, we have 2 chaos resistance rings, and this one actually has +16 to all elemental resists, some energy shield, some life, some mana regen, chaos resist ring, mana regen ring, with +2 energy shield, life, and a cold resist. Belt is different. This also has all 3 elements and it has some life on it. Boots. This is... I think this one has more energy shield and evasion. Body armor is still the same. I've got something that's slightly better, but I burned a lot of currency trying to get a 5 link and I don't have it yet. So that one is still in the back burner. And not entirely sure if I changed this already last time or not, but this is the gloves we're using. And the helmet is still the same as we picked up in Late Cruel from a trade. This is just a ridiculous amount of energy shield. So that's our new gear setup. So let's have a look at links, because all the things are different. We no longer have Bitterdream, so we no longer have our greater multiple projectiles Frostbolt being boosted by that. So instead, Frostbolt, greater multiple projectiles, increased crits, and Icebite to give the extra chance to freeze and get us frenzy charges. Our main body armor, we only changed the control destruction for increased crits, and for the rest it's still Frostbolt, cold penetration, increased crits, Icebite, and added cold. In our wand we have Frost Bomb with increased area of effect and a Vortex, so they're nicely linked. They used to be in here with an extra cold damage, took that one out, moved them over here. We have Summon Ice Golem with crit strikes. I no longer have the strength and no longer have the focus on a regen, so I figured let's pick up Ice Golem, and I only now just noticed that the Golem grants 25% increased critical strike chance, which is perfectly in line with the focus of this build. So that's a nice bonus. And I figured let's give it some extra crits, just to make the Golem itself crit more as well. And we have our Vaal summon skeletons in here as well. Everything else, Flame Dash, faster casting, Frostbite with increased AoE, Clarity by itself, Discipline by itself, Blasphemy and Enfeeble linked. That's it. So we have everything we would want. I already put the map in. It's a Vaal pyramid twinned, so we have double bosses. Monsters take reduced damage from crits, but we do a lot of extra damage, so that doesn't even matter. And monsters fire 2 projectiles and have a bit more life. So this is gonna be a repeat of a preview of a map run I've already done. I've already done the Vaal pyramid, but this way we can see how this works in a map setting. I did buy the Golem from the vendor, so it's only level 10 rather than level 18 or so. I did consider using a Chaos Golem because it adds a little bit of physical damage reduction, which is nice, but no, gold is gold. It's the focus of the build, and the added crits was just something that sealed the deal for me. Okay, let's stick to the right hand side here. So we have a net 80%, roughly 80% chance to freeze things. Oh yeah, I didn't go over the stats yet. Let's do that. So our main Frostbolt, that's this one, 33.86% chance to crit. So 1 in 3 Frostbolts is gonna crit, which is pretty nice. And on top of that, we have a 35% chance to freeze. If something is enchanted with Frostbolt, they have another 13% chance to get frozen, which is pretty nice. And things that are chilled also get another, I believe, 15% chance to get frozen. Oh yeah, we no longer use Hypothermia, but we do get 5% from the skill tree. So that's basically a lot of words that I'm gonna use to say we crit, we freeze. Our defense is now freezing rather than a regen. So I ran a dried lake before, then there the Golem had a habit of staying alive rather well. These spark mages and things like that, they have absolutely chewed through the Golem. It's not even funny anymore. Also, Stupid Thing actually has a habit of going into melee distance and then trying to attack things, but it does pitiful damage. Where did we hide it? I see it's level 11. Now it's more cute than effective right now, which is not something you would want for your Golem. You actually want a Golem to be effective. Well, upside, it's gonna gain another 9 levels at some point in the future. And while doing that, it's gonna get us more increased crit chance, which is pretty good. Ooh, gold amulet is of course another type that you could use to increase the rarity of items found. And if you don't strictly need the regen, that is an option. We could even try to see if we can run without clarity. Currently we regenerate 61 mana. Oof, clarity mana is tripled. That's a lot actually. I can't run without that. So you are Fish Reflect, that's very fine and nice for you, but I honestly don't care. Also, let's set ourselves up in a way that we will also shoot at your buddies rather than only at the boss. Tar, I don't like tar. So Frostbite is very useful because it really helps you nearly guarantee the freezes. Okay, can we shoot through the doorway here? Yes, we can. Doorways are a tricky bit since you have a habit of just hitting the doorways rather than shooting through the doorways. Okay. Also in the entire gear upgrade thingamajig we gained quite some energy shields. I had a quick look back at previous video and there I had about 3900 energy shields and now we got almost, oh, we got 45 and a half, almost 4600. So we gained a good 500 energy shields. And in terms of life, I think we lost a little bit, like 100 or so. Which is pretty cool. Hey, you reduce mana. So we hit nearly everything. So let's go down. So the chaos based monsters here are interesting. Good thing is we reduce the chaos more. Previously we had about negative 22%, now it's negative 12%. So we take less damage from the chaos. Something I am consciously focusing on. So they are killing my golem. I don't like them for that. Okay, you guys. There's some tapestries in the back. They hurt, but they die quickly. Okay. It turns out we are more or less zigzagging through. Ah, there's only one way to get further east, and that's past here. Convenient. So far, things are playing pretty well still. Because you no longer have the stone golem that will actively draw attention to itself. You'll spend a bit more time tanking things. But the purpose of the freezing is, of course, to prevent that. If you freeze your enemies, then they can't shoot back, because frozen enemies don't attack you, which is a very nice property that you really want to exploit to the maximum with this build. Also I've got 11,000 tooltip DPS, and that's excluding all resistance penetration, with 5 frenzy charges up. 13,000 if the energy shield also has recently recharged. But before it was somewhere in the 5 to 6,000 in a default state. That's now been bumped to about 8. So all of that means that we do a lot of damage, and that means crits hit harder. They hit now for double the damage. And they also freeze longer, which is very useful. Because we also have a lot of bonuses that increase the chill and freeze duration on enemies as well. So, nearly there. Let's see how the bosses behave, because this time we have twin bosses, so we have 2 bosses to deal with. Boss is a bit of a slowpoke here. Definitely to our advantage. So you guys stop doing all that chaos damage. Playing an energy shield build, for crying out loud. I have to admit that I am still strongly thinking about switching to CI at some point. Because the interesting thing is then I could exchange my rings for just more moonstone rings, the ones that... Actually I could either go for crit rings or I could go for energy shield rings. There are some options there. But right now the rings are the only guaranteed way of getting some chaos resistance, so that's why I'm using the chaos resist rings. So yeah, I'm actually maxed out. I got +5 to +10, plus even a bit more. So there's a little bit of wiggle room in terms of gearing. It's not a lot, but there's little. Okay, boss fights. Let's see how this goes. So we got 1, we got 2. We've got Series Chosen with some added mobs. Oh, let's actually avoid these for a bit. Golem, Frostbite. So, focus on the boss here with just single target. It does get frozen, even though it's a boss, and as a result bosses are usually harder to freeze and things like that. And that is another one. Bye. And lots of loot and lots of loot. So yeah, I'll deal with the loot later on. This is no, this was just a test run to see how the new skills work, or the new gear plus skill layout, how it works. And so far I'm deciding I like it. So next focus is going to be, of course, to get Annihilation over here. That's going to be another 3 points. We're almost a level ahead. Maybe I can get a little bit creative and scrounge another 2 skill points from somewhere and race towards Annihilation. Something like a live Blood Siphon, for example. If I take that out, that's going to be 15% increased damage that we lose, so our life drops maybe to 2000. But we do push our crit multiplier even further. It's going to be another 95% increased crit chance and a bit of crit multiplier. So that is definitely worth considering. I think I'll actually try it. I got enough refund points and I've got some quests I haven't done yet to do that. But for that we do need to gain another level. So I'll run some more maps and do some more quests and some Dried Lake and stuff in between episodes. So next episode you'll see a build that's even more pushed towards the damage and crit dealing side, while life is pulled back a little bit. That's one of the nice things about having an endgame build in softcore, is that you can do the experiments, and if you die, it's not a big deal. And those are all lessons I can learn and eventually apply again in hardcore. And no, the main lesson I've learned here is that focusing on crits early, picking up Assassination for example, and then Doomcast, those are very good notes. If you're doing cold damage, those are very good notes, because then it becomes pretty easy to get 20%, maybe 25% crit chance. And if you got the gear to support it, you push yourself even further. And then, the more crits you do, the more you freeze, the more safer you are. But that's gonna be it for now. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye bye.